I guess there is a bit of background noise. Okay, wonderful. I think we're good. Can you go on mute? I think there is a background noise which is coming, or can you just check?
I am checking that, Samir. You continue, please.
Okay, great. Sorry, Vikas, for this glitch. Sometimes it happens. I request everyone to go on mute, please. And the session by introducing Vikas Gupta is the managing director of Wiley India. And over the last 2 decades of its stint with Wiley, he has built and scaled Wiley India's business to an amazing level. And in his early avatar, Vikas has been a serial entrepreneur. He had scaled up and grown ventures in technology, publishing, and medical electronics. And he's a big advocate of the spirit of entrepreneurship and really practice what he preaches. And as he's linked with publishing, knowledge, and learning industry, he's been an author and co-author of almost 15 books. And one of the books he authored in the technology space has sold more than 2 million copies worldwide. He's been into multiple roles from an industry consortia perspective, SOCHMs, AI, and having known Vikas personally from last few years, I can vouch that this session would be a cracker of a session in terms of the nuggets of information, what we can pick, the insights, what he would be dwelling into, and really kind of getting a very first-hand strategic information in terms of what I call the future of learning. It's a pleasure and honor, Vikas, to have you at our CX session, to the session.
Thanks, Amir. Thank you for a very, very kind introduction. And welcome all. I'm really privileged to be here and to talk. We want this to be something very interactive. And I would love to get as many questions as you people want, because I'm here to just tell what is happening, but would like to know from you more what is your expectation, what do you want to hear, and if you have any questions or doubts, I think that is something will make this session very productive. Thanks, Amir, again for hosting me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And we'll take the questions very soon, Vikas. Navigating the future of learning. You've been associated in terms of all these strategic shifts, what you have seen, Vikas, in the industry. Now, over the last couple of years, future of work and exponential technologies have taken mainstream space. We are talking about a new model of learning which is coming, which needs to meet the requirements of gig economy, startups, deep tech firms. And this wasn't there. So, in your view, what are these shifts you are seeing, and what learning providers, edtech players need to do in this space?
So, Samir, I think you use the word edtech players. So one change which has happened for publishing is that from the invention of the printing press, the Gutenberg's printing press, which actually spread knowledge world over. And that was, I think, one of the biggest inventions to make sure where we are today. Publishing organizations were publishing organizations. I think in the new world, we are becoming education technology organizations. So, like Coke and Pepsi are not two competitors. If you drink tea, if you drink lime juice, if you drink juice or anything else, they're all competition of yours. So the gamut in terms of who are you competing with and what is the kind of solution you bring on the table is changing dramatically. So let's pause there and understand there is a pre-COVID world and a post-COVID world. In the pre-COVID world, learning and education was being disrupted in a very big way, and we are all aware of that. But what was happening was there is a pushback, one, from various stakeholders. If I talk about colleges, professors are more interested to teach face-to-face. If you go about companies, they want more face-to-face trainings. It suits people. People are used to something. So that was a world where you are trying to navigate the future where the ecosystem is still stuck in the past. So what was happening was when you talk about startups, deep tech firms, gig economies, new age companies, they were from day one built around that they could do what they could do because their model was, I need to get a set of people who are not experts in what they are, but they are very good learners. And we are also learning for the first time as we are developing things. So they will learn with us. We all learn together. We develop things together and we deliver things together. That is not where organizations are built. Colleges and organizations both have a very similar culture. You will be surprised I am saying that. The structure of an organization, the hierarchical structure, has been there from hundreds of years. The structure of universities and colleges from 800 years, absolutely similar. There is no change which has happened. Now you have within learning, edtech firms trying to disrupt. Within industry, you have these new age organizations, the deep tech, the start tech trying to disrupt. But the old guard pushing them away. You are still at the fringes in some cases. You are in main stage in some cases. So now that was a pre-COVID world. Post-COVID world, we are all in the same boat now for the first time. So this is an amazing opportunity because you, even if you want to, you can't go back. And if you can't go back, better to move ahead. And now is the world where the real democratization of this will happen, where if you are a publishing organization or an edtech organization or a learning organization or even a technology organization, that barriers will go away and people will collaborate and find solutions instead of trying to be the owner of everything. So the collaboration world, which is now the new normal, we talk about in a virtual atmosphere, is a huge, huge learning curve for all kinds of organizations. So what is happening in our world? If you are a corporation, you want to hire AI experts, you may say, why should I hire somebody full-time? I have a project, hire somebody in the gig economy world who can do this project. But you will only hire that person if that person is expert in that. Now, in your AI world, if you say, I know this and I have not learned anything for 2 years, you are already a fossil. So you will keep on learning. If you are a person inside a corporation, to keep your job, you have to keep learning. You don't get jobs now because you have a 20-year experience in that. That could be one criteria, but that's not the only criteria. If you are in education, if you can't teach new age technologies, you are left behind as a professor. You cannot say, oh, for 30 years I have an experience in teaching this. It doesn't work anymore. I'll give you another example. 10 years ago, a 2-year experienced Java programmer got the same salary today, a Java programmer with a 12-year experience. What does it tell you? What it tells you is, if you learned once, which was the model of college education, learn once and then earn for life, do some executive programs here and there, and you are fine. That's gone. You will never be hired of what you learned earlier. You will only be hired of what you can do today and tomorrow. To do that, this is the change which is happening, the titanic shift which is happening, is that everybody has to continuously learn. Now, if everybody has to continuously learn new things, somebody has to create those new things. So the hunger for content, the hunger to learn is becoming more and more. So people have not stopped learning, but the way it was delivered earlier is changing dramatically. And that's what the publishing organizations are becoming. So I'll give you a good analogy. If today you talk to edtech startups, and I mentor a lot of them, edtech startups say we spend 80% of our money in technology, and maybe 15% on content, another 5% on, say, other administrative stuff. If you are a publishing company, you'll say, I spend 80% on content, 15% on technology, and 5% on administration. Now, let's put this analogy in a very simple way that if I ask Samir, let's build a factory and you have $1 million, you spend $800,000 on land and building and $100,000 on a machine or something, and then you say, make me $5 million in revenue. How will that work? So the problem is everybody is thinking in a long way. Technology feels content is not the king. Content company feels content is the king. The truth is both are kings and they have to jointly rule as co-CEOs. And that is where the change needs to come, that the hunger for content delivered in a technological friendly way is what the future of learning is. What does that mean? I cannot become a heart surgeon just by looking at 500 times a video on open heart surgery. I have to actually do it. Can technology do that for me? Can it simulate the entire experience like you learn in a simulator when you fly a plane? It works there. Can it work in this also? So it has to be immersive. It has to be very much personalized, that I have my learning style, I have my learning path, I have my way of learning. It has to be done that way. The role of technology is now in center stage, even in a very, I'll say, traditional thing like education and learning. So there's this very nice shift happening. Online learning is mandatory, but what is happening in that? Majority of the global colleges and schools shifted to online when this COVID happened. Let me tell you, after 2.5 months, the experience is bad. Students are not happy. All the students are not happy. They say, what does this mean? My son studies in a top universities in America. And he said, he came back to India in March and he says, I don't need to spend $100,000 a year in fees and stay there just to get some video lectures. I can go to Udemy and learn. The experience of being inside a campus, learning from peers is not there. But I don't want to just go totally back to campus. I need something hybrid. I need something which takes care of my peer group in a personalized form, using technology. How do I connect them together? The platforms are not built like that. Whatever we say, social and all, no, they are not. It has to be that close group of like-minded people learning together. That's what college education is all about. And I think that needs to change, and that will change, I'm pretty sure. So that personalization, analytics-driven, immersive learning using AI and analytics and everything is equally required as one, but that will drive what you will learn. And that will drive how you will learn. And I think that's where the future of work is being going, that if you can build that, the future of work says, I can be anywhere, I can do anytime learning, anywhere learning, and I can get a job done. I'm not worried about my job. I will get a job because I'm always ahead of the curve in terms of what is expected of me.
Great. So just a lot of points out here, and many of them resonates in terms of what I call the large, complex, unresolved problems of technology, workforce, education, learning, and the future of work. And we'll peel each one of these, and subsequently we'll talk about that, and also keeping in mind the questions which have already started flowing in. But here is my another kind of a reflection which I want to take your inputs and insights. You mentioned about this entire education system, the learning, and what I call AC and BC, which is before Corona, after Corona. Now, there is one facet over there, which is about this existing technology population, 4.4 million professionals in India, IT setup. 1.7 million of those are what we call the middle bulge, with an average experience of more than about 8 years. As you rightly said at the beginning, those technologies are dated now. The QA guys, the network kind of, let's say, engineers. Now, Suddenly, those professionals feel outside or out of sync while they're trying to grapple what they could. The scenario is not changing much. It's been the same situation for last few years. What is the way you think this particular 1.7, or let's take it, let's say 2 million population needs to do, and what the larger ecosystem of companies involved, the educational providers, and the learning organizations need to do?
So, Samir, that's an excellent question. And that's the most bugging question people have is what to do with people who are there. You cannot just ask them to go because they are people and you need to reskill them. The problem companies face is when they say reskilling them, let's put them on a course of AI or a course of something else. Putting people on course does not change their skill sets and mind skills. The first change needs to happen is the what do you call by soft skills in the 21st century? Soft skill does not mean I can do a presentation and I can speak well and I can talk well. That is not soft skills anymore. What soft skills of 21st century means is that everything is unknown, everything is in a very, I'll say, in a very fluid state, and that's the way business is conducted now. How do I solve problems in that? How do I understand what is going to happen tomorrow, today? So for that, first you need to change people's thinking style and learning style and understand that you can't teach them courses. You can only teach them how to learn. If you can teach people how to learn, you are in the right track. Things like design thinking. Now, if I teach people design thinking, I can start solving problems in a very structured way. It is not based on my gut feeling or I have some data which tells me. It goes beyond. It goes beyond in a way that it tells you that there could be multiple scenarios to solve this, and maybe all the solutions are right. And then you have to take an educated guess or a data-driven guess or a gut feeling guess. That will only come after that. So for that, these 1.7 million people, I'll say, start thinking of how you unlearn what you have learned, relearn how to learn again. And when I say relearn how to learn again is start to learn something you really hate. You say, I can never learn in my life. And start, after doing some of these learnings, courses like design thinking and all, start learning those courses step by step. It is a steep learning curve. You will get frustrated. You will get bogged down. You will say, this is not for me. But it is just like an analogy. I will say that if I can give you a statistics, nearly 95% of piano players in the world leave learning piano within the 7 or 8 years of their existence. So they will learn for 3 years, 2 years, 5 years. Oh, so I can't do it. Only 5% go in the 9th and 10th year, and by the 10th year, they become really good. So if you say in 10 years, that 1.5 years is a very small time. But people leave. This diligence need to be brought in that there is no other way. This is the only direction of travel. If you have that in mind, and the COVID world is telling you that, COVID world is allowing everybody to learn to start from same starting line now. So if you start learning now, corporations will value it because everybody now is in disruption. So I think people should start thinking that direction. Second, there's no straight line of learning, but there is pattern in this chaos. What is a pattern? I want to have my career in this area. If you want to have pattern in the career in this area, find the patterns in this chaos. If these skills will allow me to have a seat on the table in this area. Then start learning those skills, not courses. Again, you start learning those skills, analytical skills, data skills, all of those. Then you start going into specific technologies. You start learning in that form, you are in the absolutely right direction. It is same as, I'm not preaching the choir here. It is same as when you started learning, you started with A, B, C. Then you started with 2-letter words, then it became 4-letter words, then it became a sentence. It is the same thing again.
Wonderful. So what you said, Vikas, I think is very true. I'll just pick up what you said, this developing the skills and then reorienting yourself in terms of picking up what you want to learn, unlearn or relearn. But the fact over there, which I want to take your opinion is, that's more of a conceptual part. Now, as you also said, technologies are living a life of obsolescence, coming in, coming out. And anything which needs to be there as an art of problem solving in the corporation is hard to come by. Organizations don't share, as you know, data or problem sets. Now, how does a mid-level professional or a kind of a, let's say, early entrant looks at this, what I call, and which as what I have learned from you is contextual learning. What's your observations around this on the contextual learning?
So something which we are doing in Wiley is very interesting. It's a global project I am leading. It's called Wiley Next.
Sure.
Now, what is Wiley Next is, we as Wiley, being in existence for more than 213 years now, have a very unique position. On one side, we are a trusted education and learning provider to the world. We are respected equally by the industry and by the academicians together. So the institutions respect us, the corporations respect us. And we have no skin in the game that I have a bias towards a corporation or to the institution. We are an education and learning provider. So the challenge always was, we always said, was that how do I get the context to learning? As Steve Jobs used to say, how do you connect the dots in very simplistic terms? So what we did in Wiley was, we have the best conceptual learning content, which is our books and content which we had. We digitized it, created courses around it. Great. But that is still not connecting the dots. Now I'll put it in a way. When you learn in school today or college today, you learn a technology, you learn say pointers you learn today, you learn this today, or data structures you learn today. When you go to the corporation, you are given a business problem. Nobody comes and tells you that please solve this using data structures. They will say, this is a business problem, you solve. And that is where everybody struggles, especially the 2 million force you are talking, which is in the middle, the bulge. They are the worst hit in this. And that is where the amalgamation of conceptual and contextual learning comes. And that is what Wiley Next is. So we created a Wiley Innovation Council, a global council of nearly 50 plus global thought leaders, which were CXOs of global corporations, as well as top academics of top global Indian and global universities. We started debating, and corporations then opened up and they started offering their business cases and business problems with us. With the caveat, because you are Wiley, we trust it will not go in the wrong hands. It's an IP. Change it in a way that anything which is very much specific to a corporation you remove, rest you use. Building that, we created about 3,500 complex and simple business problems. And that you teach in a college in a very unique way. So when we go to a college today and say, I'm here to solve the industry academic connect, which we talk in multiple forums, but nothing has come out of it. So the professor's role is equally important. So the professors will teach concepts. After that, the student comes on the platform. It's an immersive learning platform. You will learn in that immersive learning platform in a way which is a business problem, but connected to what you have learned in your college this week. Okay? This week, I'm not saying this semester. This week or maybe 2 weeks of learning, I'm only going into small pockets here. Now, what is the uniqueness of these problems? They don't have one answer, and they cannot be copied. So I'll give you a very good example. We have a problem of a smart car. In this, there are 120 sensors And one problem could be that I want this car to be a safe car, that when a drunken driver or somebody comes in, the car should stop automatically so that they don't meet an accident. Now, great thought. How do you do that? If somebody's steering is wobbling, not going into the lane, you say, this guy is drunk. Stop this guy. Making it very simplistic. But you can have an 80-year-old gentleman, totally fine, but his hands wobble when he drives. Should the car stop? So that way you can create multiple outcomes, multiple solutions to the same problem. So majority of the problems on this platform can never have one answer. And every answer in their own way is right. That is critical thinking and problem solving. So you can use any technology you want. You cannot say you have to use this using Java. You can use any of the full stack technologies. All are available, and you can solve this problem in multiple ways. So it's not about, it's only about Java. So this is the way this thing works. And that is the way we are building the Wiley Next learning ecosystem in collaboration with the industry. And the outcomes have been something very dramatic. You know, top 5 global banks, I will not name them, I'm not allowed to, but take your pick, the top 5 global banks. These banks never go to any college except IITs. I'm talking in India, and I'll talk about the rest of the world also. They came to, we connected with them because we work with them in a few countries globally. If we can get you very good people doing full stack development, but they will only come from tier 2 colleges, but they'll be so driven and so good that we don't believe you. Our structures are different, our way of teaching is different. We only look for people who are very different in thinking and everything. So they gave us, because they know us for long, we are working with them through our Wiley M3 collaboration in many countries. We were given a batch of 50 people. Okay, so give us 50 people in these areas. We got those people from about 140 tier 2 colleges. I'll tell you colleges where, forget about a global corporation, even local companies do not come for campus placements. In small towns, these 50 students were taken from there, 52 students to be precise. This week, 50 of them started remote onboarding, their first job of their life at a 7 lakh rupee package, the package which will become 11 lakhs in 18 months. In 2 global banks in Bangalore and Mumbai. Why? They are zapped, and the way they were interviewed in a very, I'll say, vigorous way. They could only reject 2 out of 52. So what I'm trying to say is the Wiley Next platform is democratizing. It doesn't matter where you go. If you are having a zeal to learn, you can learn. And I think this is something which is really interesting around this. This plays well, not even in colleges. This will also play well in corporations. Contextual, these are all business problems. Now, when you hire or when you put a team leader for a project, what do you choose? Oh, this person has done 10 such projects or 5 such projects. If they can do that in a simulated world, you don't need to worry about finding someone who can do 10 or 15 such projects. Does this make sense?
So, Vikas, if I may chime in, this is a very relevant point you touched, and I'll come back to this Wiley Next model, which you talked about in terms of the bank example. Now, there is one aspect, and that's also part of the question. By the way, there is a steady stream of questions coming in, so I can't stop. But I'll merge what I also had with a question, which is very relevant. The model per se of hire, train, and deploy, which many of the companies have been adopting so far, specifically technology companies. And they have a huge L&D, academies, setups, and all. Now, certainly there is something wrong over there, we all realize, because a student spend enormous years getting education. 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, getting into their L&D training academies. And by that time, he or she really comes out of it, that technology skill sets and training is already obsolete. What is your view over there? What is that future of learning which will happen at that aspect, which is more about these L&D academies reorienting? And is there any intervention what Wiley Next has as part of this tackling this problem?
So I'll first come to your question and then say how Violinics can solve. So first of all, uh, in the post-COVID world, where globalization is going for a tailspin, companies are becoming more and more local and regional. So companies, countries, everybody is becoming more and more local. Nobody talks about globalization anymore. So that means the fight for talent will become more aggressive and will become more and more local than global. How do you solve it? Using technology and remote learning, working. Now, but to do that, only those things will come remote, not because they are cheap. They will come remote because they are not available there. That means your workforce need to be skilled in a way that skill sets are not available easily. And that is where I think the role is that problem solving and critical thinking and ability to create solutions with multiple outcomes using AI and all new emerging and immersive technologies which we talk is where I think the direction of travel is. Now, if I put it into a different perspective, what we are trying to say is that if you want to be in that boat, you need to change your way, that you cannot teach people something in 3 months and expect them to be experts for life. I always believe you learn your first computer language in 3 years, the second one in 3 days, and the third one in 3 hours. It's only the syntax then and exceptions. If you teach people like that, this 3 months training and 4 years in college and 2 years in college goes away. They don't need to learn 200 things. Teach them only one thing in the best possible way. They will figure out what to do with the next. If the companies start hiring like that, the biggest problem with corporations is they come and talk very nice things on television, but their hiring process is, how much did you score in aptitude test? And that too, you have 2 or 3 companies who give aptitude tests, which is so predictable now. And that's the only model of hiring. Or do a small program, Java snippet or something, and you are hired, we will train you. They can't do it anymore. They can't afford to do it anymore. So the pressure on colleges would be, do what you are supposed to do. You need to get people who are ready to do a job day one. So the industry and colleges with solutions like Wiley Next need to first say to the college, I will only come if you have people of this caliber. Otherwise, I will ignore you. If companies do that, colleges will understand and they will do the same. Now you talk about the L&D in corporations. The problem is, and this is an example I'll tell you of a corporate which we worked with in doing this with Wiley Next. We saw it's a big corporate. If internal L&D runs it, everybody passes because there is no actual exam. I'm not saying L&Ds are departments are good or bad. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is companies should do only one thing. They want to keep things internally, great. They want to keep everything under their control, great. Just outsource your examination to Wiley. Nobody will know what the exam is. We will create exam based on outcomes and learning. But the examination and that process is controlled by someone who cannot be influenced. When people start failing, the system will correct itself. That is one of the most, I'll say, flawed concept that the policeman and the trainer, everything is the same department.
So
Companies talk about auditing, companies talk about finance, that it should be audited. There is no real audit of the testing process.
so
It cannot happen if it resides in the same domain.
So this also gives the point, and you've touched a very kind of a, let's say, open thing which exists today, and you've seen also this aspect of industry academia collaboration. I mean, at some stage, few years back, it was completely broken. Academia and industry wasn't talked about, but today, both of them realize that look, it's best to get more collaborative, more in sync. Now, what's happening over there? Is there a model which is in the making where industry and academia can best work together to make the right, I would say, choice for their professionals to say, look, yeah, we know the students, how it can be turned into professionals, and industry will say, look, we need these students to turn into a right kind of a, let's say, mode of learning. What's the model of industry academia emerging over there, please?
So what is emerging, Samir, is a lot of industries feel that in the COVID world, virtual internship is something which we start doing in the 8th semester. And say a platform like Wiley Next, where instead of the problems you have already on the platform, which they have learned, the problems are given by the industry. And some mentors are assigned by the industry. Okay, let's look and feel of these people, their way of learning, their learnability quotient. So the platform has a lot of analytics like that. So you learn through the platform, see their learning behaviors, understand them, and then say, we have now onboarded them virtually already 3 to 4 months in advance. Now they'll be productive. So this concept of learning academies and all go away. The second thing is, in this model, you do not give a job offer before they deliver. Typical student problem is, once they get a job offer, they stop learning. And that's what we do. We in Wiley Next, we don't give a job offer. The number is higher. We are not giving them 3 lakhs or 3.5 lakhs. They're giving them nearly double. But the onus is on you to pass. Then only I'll give you the job offer.
So you're saying that's the flexibility in the system, because the moment you kind of pick and choose, hey, this is what you'll be working, this is your offer, the students just kind of disassociate themselves in terms of taking that extra effort. Okay.
But when you make them employees and start teaching them, you see that there's a problem. You can't teach them easily. You have to spend 6 months, 7 months, 9 months, and you still cannot fire them in 3 months because there is a problem. Now, if corporations start working in a way, let's start with the 8th semester in the college itself, with the caveats. If we are here with you, we'll work with you, but we'll work with a partner like Wiley Next, who will do all this work for us. Our people are here to mentor and guide, and by the end, we may have different learning paths based on the learning behaviors. One of the biggest challenges we have seen is when you have one exam, one size fits all, they all go through a production line of learning and training. We can create, if these people are more problem solvers, put them into design. These people are better in coding, put them in the coding thing. These people have slightly lesser skills, put them in testing. Instead of now, just by randomness, people are put in different things. When you are a fresher, it's only later on people come to know. So that is where there's a flawed problem which needs to be rectified of how these people are onboarded, how you work with colleges. Colleges need you, but you need to take a much more active role in that, in a way that this is something which we are working together with, and Wiley is not here to be on industry side, and we are a neutral player bringing all the tools and technologies required to make that happen. And I think that is what the Wiley Next 2.0 is all about, actually.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let me shift gears, Vikas, and take a very different approach. And that's one of the question also which has come in. You mentioned as part of your earlier narrative about this future of learning, immersive, intuitive, interactive, and a lot of personalized basis, the kind of a cut and renditions, what I want to learn and what I don't want to learn. Now, and this is all AI algorithm based kind of a thing. But on the other side, if I see that there are large campuses today, there are large academic institutions, huge infrastructure. Now, students in this model where the classrooms are imparting the same kind of a program or same kind of a subject for everyone, how does a student gets to have a personalized feeling kind of a thing? Second, now as you rightly said at the beginning, that learning is more like it's learning as a service. I can take whatever I want to pick from various sources, whether it's Khan Academy or let's say an academy or wherever, and then I can build my own credit mechanism system. Is there a future of education evolving somewhere for specifically millennials and Gen Z?
So this is a very interesting time even for universities. So what I can tell you is, in the next couple of years, maybe earlier now because of COVID, uh, universities globally, for the first time in 800 years, will lose monopoly to award degrees. So I'm being a big statement, but you will see that very soon.
Can you say that
So
again?
you will see very soon in many countries globally, you don't need to be a university to award a degree. So that is the direction of travel is going there. You go to the university to take a degree and learn, yes, but degree is the first thing you need. But that's a gate opener for getting a job. Companies, new age companies like Google and Facebook don't even care anymore. They don't care where you learn. Their interview systems are totally different. Now, in that world where universities will lose their monopoly to award degrees, why will I go to a university? Why will I learn? Now, why do you go to the university is that we will go to the university to come to the level that we can learn ourselves. Universities need to build that ecosystem that people can start learning themselves instead of teaching courses and subjects. And that may require a teaching of few set of subjects like maths and this and logic, whatnot. That's not a problem. But then work with the industry to teach them, steer them in the areas of their expertise or where they are good at, and start teaching. That will make them more virtual and hybrid. So it will be a combination of some days a month you will go to a university campus, some days a month you will not. And some days a month you will work in a virtual group. That is the way I think the future of learning is. Neither the corporations, neither universities at this moment are doing that. And I think with technologies like Wiley Next, it is possible to do that. I'm saying, are people on board with it? It is early days, but I think in the COVID world, things will move dramatically.
Great. So talking about Wiley Next, and I want to take this thing more like a future forward scenario, because since you've been associated in terms of taking Wiley Next to the next level, what's the strategic set of interventions, programs, and engagements what Wiley Next would be offering this year and beyond? Would you like to talk about that, please?
So, one thing what is Wiley Next doing? What is Wiley Next doing is democratizing education. You don't need to worry about, I could not get into an IIT, so I will not get a great job or a dream job. We have a complete campaign now, the Dream Job campaign, where this year multiple hundred students are going in top global corporations this they never thought of. This was a statement we wanted to do. It took us 2 years to get companies on board, but very good results coming in. So we are democratizing education. Anybody, anywhere, willing to learn can learn. That's one. Second, we are going towards train and deploy models. That we are hiring people or students from colleges, training them, and they become Wiley employees and then deployed in these global corporations. So we are changing the model. We want to then, for these set of students I'm talking, which have gone into these 2 global banks, we have a 2-year learning program from them. They are coming from tier 2 colleges. We are doing an IMM course with them for 9 months, weekend courses. We have Wiley next courses for them lined up for the next 2 years. The idea is they should be, by the end of 2 years, people who came from any top school globally, and they are equal to them. So it is not about just getting them the job. The ideas of bringing them on Wiley payroll is we want to make them ready to face the world. So that's what democratization in truly sense means. The train and deploy model I just talked about. Building programs which are only driven by projects. We don't build programs building by learning, problem solving using projects. That's the second level of programs we are building. And we are now going into domain specificity. So being generic programs, a lot of people are doing it. But from our side, we are bringing more, I'll say, contextual learning, domain specific learning, learning which is more, I'll say, tuned to making you experts in one area. Instead of just giving you that, tuning to that. Having said that, I always say, and I will say, the role of corporations on one side is amazing that they need to facilitate that. But also the role of universities is still there. We always believe learning cannot go away from universities. But where it is delivered, how it is delivered. So I still say there will still be an aspiration to go to Harvard. I saw this question, somebody says top universities will remain top. Absolutely. The top 100 institutions globally will remain. But now others also have a chance. Everybody has a chance. Even those universities have a chance to have better. And it's about changing the foundation, changing the, I think, the goalpost. The goalpost can be higher and higher and higher. And that's the only way we can be, I'll say, competitive in the environment we are in, and especially in the future of work, in the future of learning. And I think that is what Wiley is doing. That is actually what Wiley is doing.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think he's making them face the whole challenge of the world. And today, as we all understand, the world is very different. It will be different, and there'll be a lot of tumultuous changes. One question I want to read, Vikas, and this is an interesting question. You mentioned about soft skills in the beginning of your narrative, and essentially they are the essential skills today. Art of problem solving, conflict management, persuasion, empathy. Now, so far, academies, institutes are not focusing on building that. We do some, I mean, and this is a question that they do some case studies, they do some kind of scenario building, and they are expected to learn that. And this is something more like a question that what is Vikas Gupta's understanding of ensuring that the students build these essential skills in the future as they have to face this kind of a, let's say, very different scenario of jobs?
See, this is, Safir, soft skills is all about improving your learnability quotient. It is more about, can I satisfy my appetite of learning continuously? If I have those skills which you talked about, you will see yourself, you will like to learn multiple things, not around just AI because you are an AI expert. You will like to learn what is happening in other areas. You will like to learn what's going on, things which are not even related to you at all. But what it does is that it improves the gamut of your thinking beyond the silos you are in. So the reason these soft skill learning and problem solving skills are important is it's not about solving only problems of technology. It's also solving problems beyond what you are, expert you are in, and solving problems where you have absolutely no knowledge. If you start doing that, a lot of learnings of those start to percolate in your way of working on a daily basis. And that's what we have seen happening. And that is what I'll say, that learning soft skills is also a continuous thing. Learning soft skills does not mean doing a course. If you know design thinking, say you learn design thinking, you did a course on design thinking and you did a few projects. If you say every week, I will do a project on my weekend for 2 or 3 hours, where I will use design thinking to solve a problem. See how it will change your way of thinking in your office when you go on Monday. And it could be problems which have nothing to do with you. Solve design thinking problem. How will you distribute, say, work among 4 people who work for you? Use design thinking instead of saying, you do this today. You will see the change you will get, and it happens. Actually, I can tell you it happens. So what I'm saying again is, if you start thinking that learning is just like breathing, I have to keep on learning. And if I keep on learning, I keep on breathing, I think you are on the right track. And learning can be from anything, even watching. I learn a lot from watching television, I can tell you. A lot of even early serials you see, even if I watch a serial on murder, I want to learn what the hell they are doing to teach. How are they solving this problem? What did they look at? How did they look at? How did they found a clue? And then how do I use that when I talk to people?
No, that's a good analogy. As long as you're not watching with all due regards another Goswami show. So
I did not say news channels.
okay. I'll take a couple of questions because in the interest of the time, because
Sure.
you laid out some very insightful perspective. Coming back to the thing which we haven't touched, and this is a question, you spent 2 decades plus in publishing. And you've seen that various gyrations and journeys of publishing. What's the future of publishing? Because we believe that the books, many of the skeptics believe books are over, no one wants to read. But on the other side, we also see that people are not getting very familiar with the Kindles of the world. What's your view? Because you've spent a lot of time in this space. Give your perspective, please.
So I'll divide this into 2 parts. One is uh, learning and education. And second, I will do it, which is nothing to do with the core topic today, which is fiction. Storybooks, fiction, which all of you read. The Chetan Bhagats and all of those top writers you all follow. So let's start with education and learning, which is interesting. It has to be technology enabled. It cannot be flat. It cannot be flat content. Ebook, PDF book with a few videos is not immersive learning. Immersive learning is something like we have, if you want to see what Wiley has done in this, we have a solution called Zybooks, zybooks.com. Go there and see the future of books in terms of learning. Very interesting, developed in collaboration with University of California, about a 10-year project. Very, very interesting. Have a look at that. We are about 500,000 students in America in computer science are using Zybooks to learn at this moment. Very interesting. So that's immersive learning using technology, and technology which not adds to the book or an ebook. It is the solution is built around immersive learning from start, not around chapters and topics. Okay, it is around outcomes and learning, which we are doing it with Zybooks. We still call it Zybooks because we want to call it book still. Okay, that's the idea. But let's come to the more interesting one, which is fiction. Flat fiction, everybody I see now has pirated version of everything available on their cell phones or devices. So nobody buys books anymore, you are right. But let's take a very interesting scenario. A technology-enabled fiction platform where say Chetan Bhagat writes a book. Due respect, I'm not going into Chetan Bhagat's IP. I'm just using a name because he's a top author. Writes a book. Assume you are in a college and 2 people after the college, the book shows they are going to a coffee shop. The chapter changes. That's a typical flat book. Assume now you're on a platform and I say now, you have an option to choose. You want to go for a coffee, you want to go for a movie, you want to go for a ride, or maybe something else. Okay? The story changes depending upon what you choose. That's a simpler version. Let's make it more complex. Bring in AI, social media, analytics, everything into it. I have your social media profile. I know what you like and dislike. So I will now only give you options of those which you are very interested in. What do you want to do? I will make the story move in a direction which is more closer to, if you are a millennial, maybe you like something which is more younger. And the content is being created by the team led by Chetan Bhagat's authors. And he is the one driving it, which is adding new content based on what is happening on a daily basis. And you buy a subscription to a book like that. Every time you read, it has a different ending. What do you think? That's the future of fiction.
Great.
Students will think it's doable. There's nothing hidden in it. It's doable. All the technologies and everything is available to do that.
Vikas, sorry to chime in. I want to take this last question which has come in, and because we're at the top of the hour. The question is about Wiley's overall strategic plans, and Wiley has done some very good acquisitions over the last few years, and these acquisitions has a certain synergies. And also the question asked actually in a manner where, is there a Wiley University in the making?
So I just told you university will lose their monopoly to award degrees. So why should I be a university if I may be awarding degrees a few years from now? Okay, that's one part. But having said that, Wiley is not in the business of being one of the two. We are in the business of building the ecosystem of bringing learners, stakeholders like corporations and colleges or institutions together. We want to be a part of your learning journey beyond college when you are in a profession. We want to do it in a way, in a form which you like. And the acquisitions we have done is a step in that direction. We want to be giving you content in a way you like. We want to work with you in developing content the way you like. And we want to make it in a way that it actually teaches you both hard and soft skills, not just one. Because a combination of both hard and soft skills is the skilling of the future, not one or either.
Wonderful. Because we would have loved to carry it on, and there are a lot of questions on the plate. Unfortunately, we are at top of the hour, but I must say, expectedly, it was a fascinating, riveting, and very absorbing session. I think, in a way, last rather 60 minutes, right from the spectrum you touched about the learning, education, higher education, the L&D, the things around what a personalized or a AI-driven learning should be, gave us ample, I would say, insights to our global participants, engaging by almost about 30 odd questions what we got. I'm sure the session was very helpful. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate. And what I could see that in the last 60 minutes, you almost wrote a playbook of future of learning. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you being part of this session. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Samir, and thank you, everyone. It's really an honor to be here. Thank you very much, and good night.
Thank you. Thanks, Vikas.